So today I want to go through just a few updates in some various areas of things that are going on here in Rossmore, some exciting activities, and then also answer a few of the questions that came in advance from folks, and then also if there's interest in additional questions, we can tackle that at the end as well. So today is really just an opportunity for community engagement to try and provide some updates and dialogues of things going on and continue to build transparency and knowledge of services and promote resident engagement. I would like to welcome, and they're here in the audience, some new board members for Rossmore Walnut Creek. We just had elections and new board members take seats. So Susan Hildreth is new board member. Adrienne Byram, who is also going to be the treasurer. Janet Selden. And then continuing, we have our board president, Leanne Hamaji, and our new vice president, Ted Bentley, secretary, Mary Hurt. We have members Carol Lair, Roy Yang, and Dwight Walker. So that is the folks that will be providing the leadership for Rossmore Walnut Creek this coming year. And we welcome and thank them for their service for sure. So one of the things that we'll talk about is our transition to Rossmore Walnut Creek from Golden Rain Foundation. In Rossmore, there are many names that we go by. We go by Golden Rain Foundation, Rossmore, Mutual Operations Division, Rossmore in general, the mutuals. So we're trying to bring everything under basically one name, and that be Rossmore Walnut Creek. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a few minutes. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the board goals from last year. And every year the board sets a set of goals and policy statements that they would really like us to focus on for the coming board calendar year. The new board will be holding a retreat in the coming months, and they will be coming up and adopting new goals for this coming year. But for 24-25, one of the main goals was to maintain political activism on issues of importance to Rossmore and collaborate with elected officials. We did a lot of this in 24 as the insurance and mortgage industry really had an impact on Rossmore and your ability to obtain mortgages, limited coverage, increasing rates in insurance. We are continuing to do this effort, meeting with elected officials, and working more collaboratively with not only elected officials, but our neighboring and our sister communities that are around the states. There are 6 other Leisure World properties, 2 down south, and then 4 spread out around the country. We're working collaboratively with those properties to also address some of these issues, especially the realm of insurance and property insurance. Some of the good news in the property insurance market is that rates are coming down, and I'm going to address that in a little bit. But it's important that we continue to make our voice heard for elected officials to know what is going on within Rossmore. The other item is to investigate additional avenues to demonstrate and communicate the value of programs. This goal really came out of the necessity to demonstrate all of our programs and what you really get for that within the coupon, because we all know that the coupon continues to rise and has an impact on everybody. So we want to demonstrate what is it that you're actually getting from your value of that coupon. And I'm going to address that here in a few minutes as I talk about the budget some. And then the final goal for this year was to investigate and implement water conservation measures where possible and practical. You see this in practice with our final stage of the median island turf replacement. You see this on the golf course where around the various tee boxes we've taken out a lot of the turf and replaced with either mulch or DG. And this is an ongoing effort. We've been blessed with some healthy rains the last several years, but prior to that, with the ongoing drought that we had to deal with for many, many years, really was the focus. So we had to address water conservation. Some of it is mandated that we will be dealing with coming up in the coming years. And we want to make sure we're ahead of this, not only on the Rossmore property, but on each of the mutuals. So through your property management, we are working with the mutuals on a number of projects in this area as well. So I want to get into a little bit of the budget and the coupon. How many people here have, without looking at the slide, know how much the Rossmore Walnut Creek portion of your coupon is? You don't count. You shouldn't know. Les, you shouldn't. You don't count either. You're a former board member. Who out here has a real good handle on how much it is? I knew it was small. Yeah. That's one of our biggest challenges. Every time I hear from a resident a lot and they talk about the coupon, it's $1,600 a month. Well, the Rossmore Walnut Creek or GRF portion is actually $354.52. Still a healthy number, but I'm going to show you here in a minute what that goes to pay for. But that is the portion on your coupon. It pays for not only all of the program services and amenity upkeep for all of the trust property, so anything that's not part of a mutual, that's what that goes for. But it also includes your cable through Comcast and your broadband services. So you receive quite a bit through that. This is what you receive for that. This is a document that you can find on rossmore.com. It's under the budget headings. But this, I really like this, and apologize for it being kind of small, but it gives you all of the various departments and the portion of the coupon that goes to cover these operations. So for example, you can go to the fitness center, and you can see that the fitness center itself is $12.38, I think that's 38 cents per man or per month to operate the fitness center. That's a pretty good deal if you're a user of the fitness center. If you use bus transportation, or even if you don't, the cost for bus transportation is $14.96 per man or per month. So the way Rossmore works is a shared cost model. And what that means is you all pay in your $354 for all of these services, whether you use them or not. So if you're not a golfer, you don't pay green fees, you're still paying the $16 that it costs. Where's the golf? Yep, about $16.85 for golf. Why do you pay that? Because that is the portion that all resident or all manors pay to upkeep the golf, to keep it green, is part of your greenway. It also enhances your property values. So about 50% of the cost to operate comes from greens fees from those that play golf. The other 50% comes from the monthly coupon that everybody pays, whether they play golf or not. And the same holds true for the pools. If you're a pool user, it's a wonderful thing. Amenity also enhances the community. But whether you use the pools or not, you still pay a portion of that on your monthly coupon. That's how we keep every individual amenity a lower cost so that everybody can benefit. So this is, again, you can find it on rossmore.com. But you can see that your cable and internet portion of that comes to $59.45. So the rest of it, the $285, is really what you're paying for in terms of amenities. So I tried to come up with a kind of graphic to demonstrate some of the push-pull that goes on in Rossmore when we're talking about what amenities, what services, what programs the board needs to consider when they're setting the budget. Because there's always a lot of interests that go on in Rossmore. For example, the middle one here is supposed to represent kind of everybody. You want the coupon to remain flat, fees to be limited, so that you can enjoy everything. But then we have a lot of specific interests that come in that the board has to grapple with, right? There's interest in keeping the pools open year-round. If you're a pool user, that's great. But if you're not, do you want to pay to keep the pools heated and operational year-round? Because that would increase that middle number, the coupon, that everybody wants lower. You may want to have free room reservations for clubs. We heard a lot about this last year. Should we eliminate the setup fees, the service fees for clubs to utilize space in all of these amenities here? Sounds great. We are a huge supporter of clubs. We want clubs to thrive. It is a founding part of Rossmore. But if you're not a member of all of the clubs, do you want to support that middle one going up in order to provide more free access to rooms? Same with, say, the RV lot. We have a number of folks that use that storage. They'd certainly like to have lower rates for there, but that would mean everybody else has to pay. More fitness classes at the fitness center. We have a robust number of fitness classes, some fee-based, some free. There's always interest in more, especially aqua aerobics. Should we add those? We'd have to hire more staff to do that. That would increase that middle portion, and everybody would have to pay. So that is a lot of the debate that goes on here, and these board members will have to evaluate that. And really, we want to maintain a high level of service, but also keep costs reasonable for everybody, because everybody shares in the cost of everything. So does that graphic help at all? Does it illustrate things a little bit? I've been struggling with trying to find a good graphic to explain that, so hopefully that does a little bit. We also have a different portion of our funding, and that comes from the membership transfer fee. That is that fee you pay when you first move into Rossmore and you purchase property. It is paid whenever a property, the escrow changes or the title changes to a new owner that is not already a member of Rossmore. Currently, that fee is $13,500. We sell and collect about 400 membership transfer fees annually. So that's about $5.4 million that we take in from the membership transfer fee. And all of that is what funds our capital. So capital projects, capital machinery and equipment, anything over $5,000 comes from this fund here. And it is adopted and approved annually by the board. They set the projects, the priorities based on, could be safety issues that we need to, the golf bridges, for example. That's a safety issue. We need to replace those. It could be maintenance and upkeep of existing facilities. We just replaced all of the AV systems in this very room using this fund. Or it could be a new pickleball complex that is scheduled just outside here. This is the fund that pays for that. None of these resources come from the coupon. So we can't use coupon money for capital. We use this. And you can see there's machinery and equipment. That's the vehicles, the mowers, all of that stuff. There's capital maintenance and rehab and replacement. We want to make sure our existing infrastructure is in solid good shape before we add new. But then there's also new things like the pickleball facility. We're looking into what we do with the medical center and MOD here in the future. We also have studies that go on, and we hear quite a bit about studies, but like the food and beverage study, that's going to lead to potentially some capital improvements, so it is funded from here and not from the coupon. We're studying the current pond on the golf course and needing to replace the liner for that. The study comes from here because that will lead to a capital project. A good portion of our NetSuite implementation that you've heard quite a bit about is funded from here because it is a capital investment in new systems. The other part that is paying for licensing and so forth, that comes from the operating. So that one's a little bit of both. But you will see we have a very healthy balance going into 2025 of $10.4 million, even with the pickleball project and the revenue coming in and completing all of these others. We still project that we'll have an imbalance of $1.6 million in addition to $3.75 million in a reserve, and in addition to $883,000 in a reserve from the medical center. So we would head into 2026 with $6.3 million. So even with that pickleball project that is under a lot of discussion, the capital project budget is in very healthy condition. Still a lot of discussion, always ongoing at planning and the finance committee. So if you want to get updates ongoing, those are committees that you can always attend. That's where a lot of the discussion with the board and the board committees takes place. So of course, this is the main project that is on a lot of people's mind, the pickleball project. We've received a lot. We had a really healthy, how many people attended the town hall on the pickleball project specifically? So a lot of you. So we went over all of the outreach that took place throughout the years. This has been a project going on since about 2019. We talked about all of the sound studies, all of the various locations that we've investigated. But today I want to talk just a little bit about where this is in the process. We have now completed all of the permitting process with the city, and that is including going through design review committee and the planning commission. This is a very lengthy process, especially for pickleball, because it kind of sets a precedent of what the city will do with future projects related to pickleball. But right now we are out to bid. The project has been placed out to bid for competitive bids with a number of contractors. We are hoping to get numerous bids. We did a bid walk with about 4 different general contractors here last week. And we have bids scheduled to be due late June. And that is the time. Once we get those bids, we get a chance to analyze them, review everything. That is when we will start to be able to develop the final budget. So we have an estimate that we've been sharing with people of about $4 million. That's based on some of our consultants that we work with. It's based on a preliminary bid that we worked with the contractor on. But that is when we will know the actual cost of this project. It will go before the GRF board, the Rossmore Walnut Creek board, for their decision on moving forward or looking in a different direction. At that point, we will have the cost for construction, the cost for final consultants involved, all of the final cost. And remember, that comes from the capital budget, not the coupon. We are looking then to pretty much get under construction towards the fall. And the reason why it takes a while is we also have a main irrigation line that we need to relocate, and that has to happen a little bit outside of the peak irrigation season so we don't jeopardize any turf that is currently in place. So just to go over some of the community outreach in this, and it has been extensive. We've had 2 town halls. With the last one, we had a full house for that. We've had a neighborhood meeting to address any concerns of the neighbors of the project and really go over the sound impact from that. We've had presentations to the clubs, ongoing presentations to the planning committee, 34 different meetings. We've done site evaluation design, budget development, ongoing project updates and recommendations. We've been before the board and finance committee, over 15 different meetings with them. We have been exhaustive with this project to look at all of the options, opportunities, placements before proceeding. So there was a question that came in regards to the board's approval process for the pickleball project. And the question was in regards to conflict of interest that a board member may have if they're either a user of the facility, they have participated on the board in the past, or they have a spouse that is a member of the pickleball club board. This is obviously a community amenity that will be here for many, many, many generations to come. We have board members that serve or are part of all kinds of clubs. We have board members that have spouses that are part of all kinds of clubs that benefit from different development of amenities. For example, when we did the tennis courts up at Buckeye, we had 2 very, very involved board members in that club. When we did this event center here, we had numerous users and board members that were part of performing arts clubs. Because you're a participant in a club, you don't benefit financially, okay? And that is kind of one of the key determinants of conflict of interest. We have had this question examined by our legal counsel to make sure that none of the board members do not need to recuse themselves because they are a participant. When we redid the fitness center, I don't know, just probably half the board are users of the fitness center. They all participated ongoing. So this has been part of our history. The board members are all residents. They're all users. They all benefit from enhancements to the community, but they're not a contractor bidding on the project. They're not a vendor. They're not an architect, any of those things where they would financially benefit. So there is no need to recuse themselves from the bill. This is another topic that has been talked about quite a bit, and I hope that all of you had the opportunity to read the article that was in the Rossmore News a couple of editions ago, specific to room reservations and the planning efforts for 2026. Some of the concerns that we heard were really specifically addressed in that article and in the planning process for 2026. A lot of clubs were very frustrated about how long it took them to get their reservation confirmations, and that was for a lot of very specific reasons in rolling out a new system and having new folks come on board and basically having to redesign things from scratch. This year they are starting as soon as June 2nd with some of the clubs doing a multi-phase rollout. Some of the concerns had to do with the length of the process and the complexity of the process. They are working to streamline the application process. We received comments about personalized interaction and being able to sit down and go over your club's history. So they are scheduling personalized appointments for accuracy and clarity to make sure. There's a lot of turnover that happens within clubs and club leadership, and it's really valuable for them to sit down, go through the history, have the documentation, and have a good discussion before completing everything. There will be ongoing staff support for any of the unique club visits or club needs. Over the time, we've also made a lot of enhancements. The plug and play for the AV systems. We've been working with the clubs that use just simple AV systems and want to be able to plug in to run a laptop for music, for example. Doing some of that. Adding a lot of the no fee, no service rooms. So appreciate your patience. There has been a lot. There's been a lot to absorb and digest, a lot of different accommodations being made. We still are implementing the cap on 4 reservations per club per week for history dates. Some of that goes back to making sure we have all of the space and how that is funded. So we encourage clubs, if they have questions, comments, concerns, the best thing people can do is reach out. Email the reservations, email Z, email Kelsey, and please never hesitate to email myself as well. We are all here, very willing, very happy to meet with you. How many people came to meet with me after I put the article in the paper that said, I am available, I want to hear your concerns, please come visit with me? Exactly, 0. Yes, we did have one, but that was a different situation. Please, I want to hear from you. I want to talk with you in person. Come make an appointment. Don't let something build up. Come and visit. Always open for that. So I want to talk a little bit about our marketing task force. Why are we doing a marketing task force? This has been a fabulous group. We rely so much on different expertise and participation from volunteers on a number of things, and this was a great example. We had a marketing task force. They worked on rebranding, as I talked about Rossmore Walnut Creek, communication initiatives, the websites that we are looking to revamp for both the internal website, My Rossmore, and the tools that will be available to you, as well as an external website for marketing to prospective buyers. But why did we initiate this? What was the need for a marketing? It wasn't just to increase sales and bring in more clientele into Rossmore. It was really to help us define what is Rossmore as we move forward. Is Rossmore a premier active adult community? Is Rossmore affordable? What do we base what Rossmore is to the existing community, to future residents, and how does the board utilize that information to make decisions about programs, services, amenities that we have? Do they make it based on the status as a premier active adult, or do we look to be more affordable? That was really the question, because as we continue in year over year, it is becoming more and more difficult to be affordable and premier. So we have to really decide, what is Rossmore? And then go with that and be able to market that. The task force came up with a mission statement that was approved by the board. It says, to serve our active adult community in a welcoming and safe residential environment where abundant amenities, idyllic natural beauty, enriching activities, and low-maintenance lifestyle provide peace of mind and the freedom to live fully. And then that was followed by the vision statement, to be the leading active adult community in the Bay Area, offering residents a dynamic and inclusive lifestyle surrounded by nature, where every day is an opportunity for adventure, friendship, and personal growth. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? All right. So then they came up with some value statements. Beautiful surroundings. Hope we all agree. The number one compliment that I receive is about landscaping. People love the landscaping around. Connection and community. Fun, recreation, and lifelong learning. Inclusivity and respect. Independent, low-maintenance living, and safety and security. So those are some of the key values that they believe that people moving into Rossmore and people that are currently here want to have. So I also wanted to talk a bit about another huge initiative that has been undergoing for quite some time. And if you're part of a board or one of the mutual boards, you've heard us talk about this probably ad nauseum now. But we are transitioning our ERP system from an old legacy system called GenArc to the NetSuite environment. And it's not just NetSuite, but it is a whole host of additional programs, software solutions that we are implementing. And really, it is to bring us into a much more robust environment where we can share information, where we can process, be more efficient, where we could provide more access to information for mutual boards, for individual residents. A portion of that will be coming soon for the community services portion as we implement new software that will impact room reservations, golf tee times, the fitness center, and provide more robust services within the My Rossmore environment. So it is a collection of programs and software solutions that we are progressing through. It is not easy. It has been quite the undertaking, especially transitioning from a legacy system that had a lot of issues. So we appreciate all of the patience from everybody as we've been working to do this. It's impacted you at the beginning of the year when coupons weren't processed immediately. It's impacted boards with financial reporting. We are turning the corner, and this will be a long-term, huge benefit to our community. And it is one that has been funded primarily from that capital project, but also we used a lot of the resources from when we were in COVID time, and we built up a surplus, especially from the PPP loans that we received. So a lot of that didn't actually impact the coupon despite its large cost. I wanted to talk a little bit about transportation. And transportation is one, especially since the pandemic, that has been really impacted in terms of our ability to deliver the full suite of services that we promote and that a lot of the users expect, and especially in relation to weekend service that has been on again, off again, and now suspended for quite some time from the pandemic. The reason that has been is we have not been able to secure bus driver positions. We advertise for bus drivers nonstop. We have a budget allocation of 10 drivers. We've been at about 5, 6 drivers for most of that time. We just don't have the capacity to run 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week. So we have to limit what we do on the weekends. Thankfully, there's been some other programs and services to step up and offer their transportation to residents and help with the cost of that. But we are turning the corner on some of this. We did an update to the Planning Commission, our Planning Committee last month, and we'll continue to do that. We're going to the board at the end of this month for approval for a subsidized program on the weekend using Lyft as the delivery model, and it would be through Lyft Concierge and Lyft for Business, where residents can use either their app or they can call and make a reservation through our reservation system, our dispatchers, and then the ride within 5 miles would be fully covered by Rossmore. It is a new program that we're trying. It's somewhat based on the GoGo Grandparent, but you would have access to utilizing your own app to schedule rides at your convenience, or if you needed to, you can utilize the dispatch services that we have available. That is just one portion of what we're looking at doing. We're looking at new vehicles to go to more of a van-style service. So we would implement a little bit more like a Uber Lyft type service within the confines of Rossmore. So that would be more efficient, more comfortable, more fuel efficient, and that is something that hopefully we'll be implementing over a longer period of time. The other thing, hopefully it'll help us do, is drivers then don't need to be Class B certified and they don't need to have a passenger endorsement, which really limits our access to new employees. So we'll have hopefully more folks that could drive for us in the future. So those are changes we're looking to start to implement the first for the weekend service to provide access here in the coming month. I did have a question from somebody in regards to the service that we have, the shuttle service, the Beep Presto service that runs between the clubhouses. I know I haven't ridden it but once. I don't know if any of you have ridden it. Yes, it is. We have one. It is empty for the most part. That is actually being run by Contra Costa Transit Authority through a federal grant. It really is a demonstration project. They're collecting data on the operation of those systems, the autonomous systems, how often it has to be taken over by a onboard controller, and just a lot of data is what they're collecting, much more so than what the interest is in terms of ridership. We are working with CTA on opportunities to integrate that more into our operation and our service to see if we can expand the delivery. But that would be something in the future. So we want to maintain a good relationship and hopefully leverage some of their ability and resources. Okay, the insurance and mortgage landscape. So I just had the opportunity to go to a large conference called RIMS. It is the Risk World conference where all of the basically underwriters from around the globe get together. I work with our broker, Gallagher, and have the opportunity to meet with just about every insurance company that is providing coverage within Rossmore for our master policy. It's an opportunity to make sure that they understand all of the hardening projects that the mutuals are undertaking, all of the projects that Rossmore is taking with like the shaded fuel break, the disking that goes on, all of the efforts, all of the educational efforts, the FireWise efforts, so that they view us as a good risk, a good investment in providing coverage. The good news from that is that rates continue to come down. This last year, we saw a 20% reduction to budget than previous year. We are looking at even continued reductions in the near future, it looks like, pending, of course, any major catastrophes. But even the wildfire that took place down south doesn't look like it is going to impact our property coverage here in the coming year. We're also looking at opportunities to move our renewal date. Currently, we renew our policy on 1/1 every year, so January 1st. We're looking to move that to June 1st. Why? Fire season is in the fall before January, and hurricane season is in the fall, or in the winter, or summer. So we would avoid those seasons and hopefully get better rates with our renewal. Also, it gives us an opportunity to look at partnering. As I said, we're meeting a lot with our sister communities. If we could partner on pooling our resources, our exposure, our liabilities, we would have greater purchasing power working with some other communities like Laguna Woods. And so trying to get on the same renewal date as some of those communities could have long-term benefit for Rossmore. So again, we go over some of the top fire mitigation efforts that are going on right now. And of course, the shaded fuel break is one of our #1 projects that has been going on for quite a while. That is a partnership with CAL FIRE and with Contra Costa Fire District. It provides about a 90% fuel break around the property. And the fun thing is we will be seeing goats in the not too distant future. I think they're finalizing the contract, and they will be taking care of a lot of the underbrush for us. But if you've seen some of the planned burns and everything, there has been a lot going on with that, and then we'll upkeep that from then on, especially utilizing some of the resources from Contra Costa Fire District. So great partnerships. We work a lot with that. And really, it says Tom Cashland's hard work up there, the relationships that he has built with these agencies, and it goes so far in accessing those grants, those resources, their expertise in coming and giving presentations to the community. Utilizing RWC's remote control. Masticator to clear fuels from under PG&E power distributions. Remember when I talked about the capital project and it pays for machinery and equipment? a key piece of equipment that we purchased last year was this remote control, basically huge weed whacker. And we can go and clear areas like underneath the PG&E power lines, which is the source of fires that we've had in the, at least wildfire, grass fires that we've had in the past. So clearing that area so a bird strike or a squirrel on the power lines doesn't cause a fire. It's a very important piece of equipment. We're able to use it and make Rossmore safer. We do annually the fire disking. You see the trails all over Rossmore. Removable of flammable mulch from the Zone 0. This is something that the mutuals have really been focusing on, talking about a lot, planning for, and it's not just a one-season thing. It's something that will be implemented over the next several years. And of course, the FireWise program and their continued efforts in education. I wanted to take a second and just talk about a policy that occurred this last year. This was kind of a hot topic, and this is something that the board and the policy committee discussed over a lengthy period of time. It was talked about at the policy committee level for many months, went to the board, went back to the policy committee for continued discussion before it was finally adopted. But certainly there was quite a bit of controversy around such a policy. So why did we do it, and what does it really mean? It designates an area near the Creekside courts for where demonstrations can take place, but there's exceptions. So the purpose, to provide a safe platform for public demonstration by GRF members and approved Rossmore organizations as defined by Policy 302. Has anybody in here read the demonstration policy? 3? Has anybody read the application for demonstration? 2? So the reason I bring that up is despite a lot of the anxiety that this kind of caused and rumor of what it meant and what it restricted or didn't restrict, if you read the policy, it really doesn't limit a whole lot of anything. Since this policy was adopted, we've had numerous demonstrations very successfully held inside the gate. The demonstration that took place after this was adopted outside the gate could have taken place inside the gate. They just decided to do it outside the gate. So I'm not going to go through every aspect of it. This is on the website. You are welcome to look at it. But the main thing I want to just illustrate is it doesn't restrict free speech. It doesn't restrict clubs and individual residents' ability to demonstrate. There are some measures process that allows us to make sure it's a safe environment, and that is not something that is going to be out of bounds that would be offensive to the vast majority of the residents. So I want to talk just a little bit how to access the board and committee and meeting agendas. Again, we want to be really transparent. The more involvement we have, the more feedback, the more input that the board receives through committees, through the board meetings, the better that they can make decisions that are informed for the betterment of the entire community. You can always visit Assembly at eboardsolutions.com and find all of the agendas for the board meetings, the committee meetings. They are posted there. You can find history. You can find just about anything that has been through a board or a committee on those. You can go to myrossmore.com and look at bulletins or sign up for bulletins, and that is something that we are continuing to work to enhance. Certainly, we want to publicize and have your input on meeting dates, times. They're all in the Rossmore News. And then if you would like to contact the board or contact any of the committees, we have a new email address, RWCB, so Rossmore Walnut Creek Board at rossmore.com, or you can phone the board office. These emails that you submit will go to the committee you're trying to address or to the full board. You do get a response from the district board member that you live in that is supported by the rest of the board. So provide your feedback. If you have questions, have answers, please don't hesitate. We also continue to have the All-Around Rossmore booklet. This is an excellent resource. It gives you a whole lot of information excuse me, on different programs, services, how Rossmore works, how the mutuals work, the structure. It is a good resource. If you have misplaced your copy, there are more copies available at Rossmore News, at Gateway, or at MOD. Great resource to keep around to refer to. And that's it. Talked a lot. Thank you. Happy to answer specific questions if I didn't cover a topic of interest from you. We're going to pass around a microphone, and since there's a smaller crowd, we can do a little bit of a microphone pass.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all this good data. I'm a renter, and my real estate agent, I just wanted to rent for a year to figure out where to buy. I love it here, so I'm going to stay. Could you get more specific about the insurance issue and the mortgage issue? Mm-hmm. Because my real estate agent told me, oh yeah, you can buy, but there's only one lender that will loan, and you have to pay extra, not the huge rental rate. The mortgage rate. So can you get more specific about that?
I can. So Rossmore has what is called a master insurance policy for property. It covers all of the common property, like the building we're in today, as well as 22 of the 23 mutuals. The only one that has their own policy is the Waterford. All of the other mutuals participate in the program, and it covers walls in for your mutual, meaning it covers the structure, it covers all of the basics, your appliances, anything basically that's not attached or personal property of your own. Rossmore's valuation for everything covered is $2.78 billion. We only have coverage in the market for $1.3 billion. So a lender that is backed by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, they require that you have 100% coverage. We only have about 40%. So your traditional mortgages aren't available within Rossmore. So you can go a non-conforming mortgage, which does cost you a little bit more. There are limited lenders that your real estate agent can help you find. When I say we're only covered by 40%, I want to be clear, though, that the coverage that we have up to $1.3 billion provides 100% coverage for any loss up to that limit. So the chances of us having a loss greater than $1.3 billion is really small. It's a 1 in 10,000 year event as modeled. So you will have 100% coverage, but per the rules of FHFA, they don't count that as 100% coverage, and therefore we don't have mortgages available.
And that's ongoing?
Until legislation changes. And that's one of those reasons why that first board goal of continuing to advocate with elected officials is so critical. You're welcome. Any other? Yes?
Is anybody at the board level listening to the table tennis club in terms of sitting aside from like 9 to 5 or something like that during the week? And I asked because I've been a member for a while, and yeah, the club's growing, but the number of people who go there regularly, I mean like more than once a week, maybe 2 times a week, is 75 to 100, and the club's growing, and I'm a member of the club, and I'm in favor of the club. But they've already got weekends from Saturday until Monday morning at 8. Every holiday, I joined that because when my grandkids come here, they want to play table tennis. Well, they can't play on the holidays. So I had to join the club so my grandkids could do it. So are any of the boards listening to that argument?
So our Director of Community Services, Ann Matola, has been working with the board on evaluation of the board rules and policies, and made some recommendations to the policy committee that then went to the board for discussion. But based on a lot of the feedback then from like yourself and individual members, that's been kicked back to the club to continue to work on before making a final comprehensive recommendation that the policy committee would then evaluate. So what he's referring to is we have many amenities such as the table tennis, such as the Los Trompas, the performing arts, such as the studios at Gateway, that a dedicated club more or less operates. They take care of the equipment, they schedule classes, programs, and different users and times. Table tennis operates very similar to that. There's overall operating rules, but we want to make sure and work with the board of the table tennis group as well as membership. So it's taking a little bit more time, so we do get that full input from the club before anything goes to then the policy committee and the board. Any other? So and the question is if they object to any changes, absolutely. You have full access to go to the policy committee, to the board, you can write letter, or you can go in person and speak under the residence forum or members forum.
I just wanted some clarification on the pickleball project. After the bids come in, is there a point where the contractor has to go back to the city for any additional permits? Because I've been hearing about that, but I don't know if it's true. So I want some clarification about the process after the bids come in.
Yeah, so we have received the bids. You don't actually go pull the bid until we have a contractor in place, and then the contractor is the one that actually pulls the bid because they then are under the permit. I'm sorry. They go to the city and they pull the permit, so it then becomes under their name as the contractor. So we've cleared all of the hurdles. The contractor, once in place, if awarded, would be the ones to then go pull the permit.
And what kind of permits would those be?
So it's the building permit, the site development permit, the grading permit, and then also wrapped up in that is the permit from the fire district, from the sanitary district. Yeah, so there's a lot involved.
Jeff, could you clarify for people who don't understand that at this point, once we get the bid and that next process happens, it then has to go back to finance and planning. Is that true? So it's not a done deal yet. There's lots of discussion before that decision is going to be made.
Right, so it is out to bid right now. We have a close date towards the end of June. Once we receive those bids, we will evaluate them, see if there's any clarification, any additional negotiation that needs to go on with any of the contractors. We will then take that back through planning, finance, and ultimately the board will have a construction phase budget that we introduce to the board for their consideration based on what our estimates are in the capital budget. Any other? Yes.
I'd like to reiterate what you've already said to make sure that I understand it. You've said that the decision to make this pickleball project is predicated on the rationale that in so doing it will fiscally solve Rossmore's declining number of new residents due to insurance denials on new homes in this recently declared high fire area. And I'm wondering about whether or not it's been considered. I'd like to know a little bit more about the open structure. Your view of it seemed to be totally open to the elements. And there was discussion that there were no bathrooms available, that the parking was to be used here at the event center, and a number of other things that were kind of unfamiliar to me. I would like to suggest that there is probably the global warming question. Have you thought about that when pickleball might not be pleasant to use that facility with an open structure? I just wanted to know if you could address that.
Okay, you got a lot in there, boy. I don't know. If I missed something, we can certainly talk. No, that was not my statement at the beginning when you talked about this will solve our insurance and solve marketing and everything else. Certainly not. My belief is that Rossmore is a robust community that is made up of a number of amenities, clubs, programs, services, landscape. All of that goes into attracting residents. You may be specifically interested in ceramics, and the fact that we have a ceramic studio that is extremely robust might be why you move here. You may be a tennis player, and when you go up and you see Buckeye tennis courts and that beautiful surrounding, that may be why you come here and you know that you can join the tennis club. You may be a pickleball player, and when you see that we are developing a brand new pickleball complex with 6 courts that are covered, you might go, that's the reason I'm moving here. Everybody has a different reason. It could be the landscape, it could be proximity. The number one thing is security. That's why people move here, security in the area. But the amenities are kind of a package deal. So no, I would not say that solves, it definitely doesn't solve our insurance problem. And it just is another thing, though, that is available to meet a broad interest. The project is located right outside here. In terms of global warming and the ability, it is covered. It has a roof structure over it. It will have solar on top of that, so we are addressing some of our energy needs for this complex as well. It does have a full height wall on the west side to mitigate sound, a 18-foot wall on the south facing side also for sound, but then it is open facing this way and most of the north facing side, so you get some fresh air circulation. But in terms of amenities, it is an outdoor amenity, and it will be subject to heat, but it should be better than just like the wide open tennis courts that we have now, or lawn bowling or bocce that are exposed to the sun. So we know that certainly when you go by the tennis courts or the pickleball courts now, hot summer day in the mid-afternoon, play is limited. So hopefully this will extend interest a little bit. Bathrooms right here. So you'll be able to utilize these restrooms while at the pickleball complex. And parking, again, we have the ability to manage the parking. So if you go out there right now, there's plenty of parking spaces despite our huge crowd we have here. But we can manage that if we do have a situation where we need to limit play or limit access because there's a conflicting, the home and garden show, for example. If that's going on, maybe we close down that facility for the day. I don't know if I hit everything, but we could talk more, certainly, if you have other.
If it is a permanent situation with the higher temperatures, the pickleball courts could not be enclosed and air-conditioned is what I'm concerned about.
If there was ever a movement to go towards full enclosure, you would have to condition, add air conditioning, add heating, add restaurant. There's a lot of different elements that kick in the second you make it a building.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Les?
You never mentioned much about the planning and discussion for the food service situations. And I just want to address that. I know you know the history of Creekside. We worked on that together. And the board at that time, when I was president, we thought of Creekside Restaurant as an amenity, never thinking to charge whoever operates that at a full price. Mainly, our first set was to charge them the rent that would cover the PG&E bill. I just want to have everyone recognize that if you're doing a study regarding the food service, don't forget that we have that as an amenity, and the other things that go with it hopefully will coincide with it and not damage the service that we have now.
Yeah.
Because I remember what it was like when the restaurant was in the Stanley Dollar Jr.'s house that was condemned.
Yep.
So let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Les. So we are undergoing a food and beverage study, completing phase 1 and now starting to look at phase 2. And Les is right, our existing partnership with Creekside has been in place since 2010 when Creekside opened up. We've had even a partnership with the current operator before that opened up. And food service is definitely an amenity and something that people want maybe more of, whether it is coffee service, whether it is another grab-and-go type of amenity. So we want to look at food service kind of globally on all of the campus. Right now, the only food service is the one restaurant. We don't want to get in a situation where we open a second restaurant that competes with that one, but something that is in partnership with. So the current lease for Creekside expires at the end of this year. We are going to be doing a RFP process, request for proposals, to look for a operating partner more in again, as an amenity. We still want to make sure that we're covering costs and so forth. And the current operator he's expressed interest and is more than welcome and encouraged to participate in that process. So it could be a longer-term relationship, or we may have others that step forward as well. But food service is extremely important, and we have a lot of opportunities here within Rossmore to provide a breadth of services. So we're looking for, instead of more of just a straight lease where the operator pays us a monthly fee, it is more of a partnership in moving forward. So thanks for bringing that up, Les. Any other questions? Yes. He's bringing the mic here.
Yeah, I have not noticed any information regarding installation of solar panel. So how does that work?
How does solar work?
Yeah, I mean, I said, does the mutual get involved in, this installation of that?
So yeah, I think I understand your question is more related to your mutual and how do you get solar for your residents?
Yeah.
Yeah. So each mutual is very unique. Depending on where you live in Rossmore, the mutual itself and in their governing documents has different rules depending on if you're a single story, if you have a duplex, or if you're in one of the larger G11s. A lot depends on what mutual you are in. You would want to contact Mutual Operations Division or your board of directors for your individual mutual to find out very specifically what the rules are related to your property specifically. I don't, and the Golden Rain Foundation or Rossmore Walnut Creek board doesn't really have a lot of influence over what you're able to do in your residence. Okay. Any other? Yes.
I don't know that anything can be done from your point of view or for the Rossmore, but we have a big problem in Rossmore, and it's growing.
Right into the mic.
Oh, sorry.
It's
Okay,
on.
there we go.
There you go.
Okay. All right, I'm soft-spoken. Traffic in Rossmore is getting to be worse. People don't know that we have stop signs, I guess. And, I mean, I see people in crosswalks and they're being ignored. I have to drive from my place on Terra, California, and make a left turn and a right turn and another turn to get to the pool, and nobody stops. So I don't know where this is. I know we don't have the resources that, it's Tom Cashin, I believe, who is sort of keeping track of this, but I don't see any improvement. And that, I just wanted to make that statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The challenge is, within that, is you're trying to change driver behavior. And it is difficult to engineer around behavior. You can do some things, and we have done some things, such as adding the speed indicators, such as adding the shark tooths in front of the crosswalks to bring more, such as adding the brighter orange crossing everywhere. But you're trying to change driver behavior. That is very, very difficult. So it really, it's all of you as neighbors looking out for each other more so than it is in engineering a solution.
Absolutely, but
Yeah, we do have, I mean, there's the clubs, the Safer Streets, and we certainly want to support them in terms of what work they're doing, more education. I just met with the city manager. We were talking about traffic enforcement and presence as much as possible, but that's also hard to justify in terms of, the hours that they could commit here when citywide statistics are much different outside than they are in here. Our statistics really would demonstrate this is extremely safe. Does that mean it's safe?
no.
So it's a little bit different visual than it is in practice. But it's all of you are reliant on each other to make sure you're looking out for each other.
What about citations?
So we're not a enforcement agency. We don't have the ability to issue citations currently or write traffic enforcement. We do contract with the city of Walnut Creek or allow the city of Walnut Creek to enforce the vehicle code, but we don't have internally the resources or the ability to issue citations.
No, I understand that, but I'm referring to the Walnut Creek Police Department. We used to have more of a police presence here. In fact, when I moved, there was very often a police officer on a motorcycle in entry D on Tice, which is notorious for speeding. I understand what you're trying to do, and I appreciate that with all the new, speed sign and everything. But for example, I was on the Presto bus the other day, and a driver just totally blew through Golden Rain and Tice, and he had to slam on the brakes. And thank God I had my seatbelt on, or I would have gone flying. And I asked him if he was going to call Golden Rain Foundation or Public Safety and report it. And I asked him if his camera was on. And he said, unfortunately, the camera was not on at the time, but he came very close to a collision.
So we don't get to schedule Walnut Creek PD for their hours here. They are managing their resources, which is limited compared to what it used to be pre-pandemic. So we're somewhat, as I just mentioned, our numbers don't justify a lot of additional presence here. We continually try and do things with Walnut Creek PD and with Tom Cashin's efforts to get them out here to do enforcement, to have visibility. And that goes kind of up and down depending on their staffing levels and ability to do that.
But even when they were here, they were giving warnings and not citations. And a warning does nothing. The Rossmore drivers actually laugh at a citation, at a warning. Why did they not give a citation when they obviously saw somebody breaking the law?
I really can't answer that. I think that's an individual police officer's prerogative. I don't know. Well, thank you all. I appreciate your time and sitting through, listening to me. Please let your neighbors know this will be on Rossmore TV. It will be posted to YouTube. So if anybody has questions, and again, don't hesitate to send me an email, schedule an appointment. I'm happy to meet with folks or get back to you with answers at any time. Thank you so much.